Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly, our Thanksgiving spectacular. It's an early time today, so I could get this in before I get on the road. So, hence the earlier time. Joining me as always is Tom. Happy Thanksgiving, Tom.
Hello, friends, and happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, I know for people overseas and other places outside the U.S. that means absolutely nothing. But obviously, here it's a holiday week in the U.S., and so I know both of us are traveling at various points in time, and so this was just simply the best time we could find to do it. So I said, "Hey, what a better use of my lunch break could there be?" So there we go. Plus, for once, like actually, this is happening at a human time for people watching in like Europe or something like that, or the UK. It doesn't have, it's not 2 in the morning.
It's true.
Yeah. So today we're going to run down everything out of the year. As per usual on Thanksgiving, we're going to run down the year in retrospective. We do our retrospective now then we talk about, sort of look back at all the releases, because basically, it's more or less releases are done for all intents and purposes.
So,
And
can
we
I
talk about what's come out. Yes.
can I highlight something?
Sure, man.
It's funny that we can be like, like we do every year at Thanksgiving. We review the releases. We're going on like 3 years.
Yes, we will have our 3-year anniversary pretty soon.
That's pretty insane.
Well, I'm more proud of the fact we've never missed a week. And
Are
I
you
don't
sure about
intend.
that?
Yeah. Yep. I am sure of it.
Mm.
I've gone back and looked. You've missed weeks.
Oh, I've missed weeks. Yeah, there's no question about that. The
Right.
level of commitment between Vince and myself, there's a leap and bound difference there. And we'll talk about that coming up in one of our news items.
I hope not. Let's not do that. All right. So obviously that's what we're going to run down today. We're going to look at the year in retrospective, give thanks for the fun stuff that we've gotten this year for Warhammer and Age of Sigmar and etc. and related tangential things. We're going to talk about what releases landed and what have sort of flopped and fell away, at least in our opinions, and why that might be. And we're going to, just kind of have a general chat. At some point in time, it's possible that, I don't know this for sure, but Mitch might pop in and join us, Mr. MC1 Gamer. So we'll see. If he just randomly shows up, that could happen. It's a very special episode, so we might have very special guests. There you go.
Maybe. Who knows? Or maybe it'll just be Vince and I.
It could be. It could be. When you do these things at unusual times, that's what happens. So we're going to jump into it here. But of course, as always, we're going to start with the news. So as Tom busily takes a swig of his soda and
anything I can do to distract from my actual job. So the rumor engine. We have a rumor engine this week.
I can't wait for you to say how this is not elves. So let me I'm excited to see how you say this isn't elves this time. All right, let me lock on me and share up here.
I hope you realize that I just resolved that like elves are never coming.
Sure.
And so these have to not be elves because we're almost 3 years into AOS and these obviously can't be elves. Why would they be elves?
No, that's totally fair. Except for the fact that it is elves, because this is definitely elves.
This is indeed definitely elves.
Yeah, I mean, it just is, right? Like, the filigree on the little handle next to her, it's a her hand.
Yes,
because
and that's kind of, and that filigree kind of looks like what we saw on that quiver.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
that depressed, like raised edges with without much curves to it. You'll notice the bracelet is almost identical to like the witch elf bracelet. It's almost identical
to like a million elvish bracelets.
Most of them dark elves, by the way. To witch elves, the sorceress. There's a number of them that all have this. The female hand.
Well, even in 40K, by the way, the Eldar, some of some of the Harlequins have the same thing.
Sure. And you were asking how I was going to spin this as not elves. What I would say is it's probably Eldar.
Sure. That's still elves. Space elves are still elves.
It's true. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, clearly. So let's just agree it's elves. We all agree it's elves.
Yeah.
So then let's talk about what exactly is this? Okay, what is this female elf holding? What's on the other end of this chain?
Sure.
That's the question.
More elves. It's elves all the way down.
Oh, okay. She's just elves all the way down. Sure.
No. So I'm of two minds.
Okay.
Either I'm imagining some type of surfing pose.
Yep. Yep.
Where she is surfing on some beast or something.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I can see that. What comes to mind is your converted like screamer.
Yeah, my Zinj Varengard that are on screamers. Yeah.
Yep. And so something like that, some type of beast, some type of Cthulhu dragon Drake thing.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
More interesting to me would be the dream come true for Stone Monk would be that this is actually part of it, like holding on to the edge of an airship.
Oh,
like hanging off the side like the Scourges do or whatever.
Quick aside, did you see his first test model
I did. It's
looking good.
Like I saw that and I was like, ooh, I'm gonna lose.
Yeah, if you want to, people should be following at Stone Monk Gamer on Twitter to see his awesome conversions.
For those of you guys who don't know, he's doing a Druchii like Caradron conversion fleet.
Yeah, Drukhari drawn overlords.
Drukhari drawn overlords, exactly. And he's using a bunch of stuff from the Eldar, like the ships, and he's had these sweet sails and stuff like that. The illusion was he was talking about like stepping up his game after my Slayer stuff, after a Holy Havoc. He's like, I'm going to step up my game for the next either Holy Wars or next Holy Havoc with these guys, and that's what my comment was about when I saw that demo, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to lose this one.
Sure. So okay. Yeah. I don't, some people have said, what if it's upside down and it's someone hanging on to something? I think Jeff Egan just mentioned that in the comments. I disagree. I think this is right side up.
Yeah.
And the reason I think that is just because of the general nature of the pose. The wrist would be more bent if you were hanging on to something, I think, like, because somebody you like they'd model the wrist slightly bent.
Yes.
Yeah.
The way weight
would be counterbalance your weight.
Yep. The tension on this looks like on that upper part of the hand.
Correct.
Yep.
Like she's pulling back on the opposite side. Yep. So in my opinion, what I think this is, so there's two ways you can go with this. This could be like Corgus Cole, right, where he's got the dog next to him. My problem with that is if you look at the angle of the chains, they're like in this picture, the hand. If this is presented at the real angle and not Dutch in some way, then this is a very downward angle. So I'll give you two worlds. If this angle is wrong, okay, then it's somebody who has a dog or a beast of some kind, and they're just holding it. Okay, like if the angle, so even though I don't think they're upside down, it could be Dutch angled.
But here's the deal. Even if that is the case, the scale of this would suggest that leash is super long.
Yes, absolutely. But it could be somebody way out in front.
Yeah, that's true. Like pulling.
Yeah, again, assume this is a Dutch angle.
Yeah, or again, it could be like a chariot or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. So if the angle is tilted, not upside down, but just tilted, then this could be out to a beast running ahead, and that would hence give a point to the long chain. So that's that one. If it's not, if this is the real angle of the if this is the real angle of the pose, yeah, then it's somebody surfing on something. Like it is absolutely somebody surfing on something, because the length of it says it's a bigger creature and somebody's standing on its back and it's running way down to a far away neck or something.
Yep.
And it's been a little while since I've gotten to talk about this, but we know how I feel about surfing things.
Yeah. Like everything gets better for you if it's surfing.
Correct. That is exactly right. All armies should have somebody surfing on something else. So
it's the only way to ride into battle.
Correct. Exactly. That's how you say you're BA.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you
clearly, like those of you that have just that don't know, like you just haven't seen Vince's archer cavalry where they come riding in standing on their horses.
Yeah, exactly, dude. That like happened in Game of Thrones this season, right? Those dudes got up and stood on the back of their horses, and you're like, whoa, these guys are awesome. Exactly. People who surf on the backs of animals are just way cooler. Hence the value of the the mega boss on the Maw Crusher, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because he's surfing.
Bad boy. Yeah.
He is surfing on a mall crusher.
Yep.
So yeah, that happened. What else? There was a Black Library Weekender, and there was, and we found out some really interesting things from the from like in some of the conversations that went on. Andy Clark is working on a Knave Black Talon novel. It'll be the first female-led kind of AOS novel. And he notes that like the Knave and the Vanguards as a whole, while not being like completely anomalous, they're also not the best representation of their storm hosts. You know, and he says kind of in the same way that like a Space Marine scout isn't necessarily typical of the chapter. So just some interesting insights there as to how like where their headspace is on those. CL Warner said he wants to get back to into Skaven, writing Skaven, and like look at Skaven beyond just Clan Pestilence. Suggests that the KO are primarily financially driven, and you know one of his comments was that enough so that they would work with chaos if the profit potential was good enough, which is really interesting because we heard that with Fire Slayers as well at one point.
Right. Yep.
We've never seen that manifest, but we've heard that before. They said also they're more forward-thinking than traditional dwarves. So if it had been Caradron at the end of his novel Thanquil's Doom, they wouldn't have locked away the newly invented machine gun turrets and instead mass-produced them, which is a great yep, that's KO
nice.
for you.
I like it.
Yeah, and he's currently working on a Order of Azir novel, The New Witch Hunters. Said very different from Thulmon, which is the prior character, I believe. So, yeah. There you go, Vince.
I'm excited for a return to Skaven, right? Like, I definitely want to see some more Skaven novels of what they've been up to in the Mortal Realms. I think they're always compelling characters because I think Skaven protagonists are interesting because they're so naturally flawed. Like, good protagonists are flawed protagonists, right? And Thanquil, I think the reason he was always interesting to be a main character in a story, even though he was arguably the antagonist often in his stories.
Sure.
But nonetheless, he was compelling. I mean, people loved him as much as they loved the actual main heroes of the story usually. But he was just, he's interesting because he had such grand ambitions and such obvious shortcomings.
Yeah. No, what I was actually prompting you about there, by the way, was the Order of Azir. Like, it sounds like they're doing a novel along the lines of Devoted to Sigmar.
Oh, yeah, sure. No, I mean, and that's all good. I want to see more of that, too. I mean, I think we all do, right?
Right.
Like, you can do interesting Stormcast novels. You could do interesting Stormcast novels for probably ever, because it's just the subject matter at a high level like that really isn't determinant of the quality of the story, right? It's just can you tell an interesting character? So the question is, can we write a good story? It's, you know, can we also talk about some other interesting corners of the world that allow for world
write
building
good stories there too? Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, just to wrap that up, a couple other quick ones. Gab Thorpe mentioned that he wants to do an Archeon, a series based around Archeon and the Varangard, explore the Varan Spire and what goes on there. He said that, you know, Archeon is one of the few, if not the only ones who would remember the Warhammer, like the old world. And so, you know, it might provide some interesting framing and kind of interaction, you know, from a storytelling perspective.
I still go back to the fact that Archeon, the biggest failing in the narrative in all of Warhammer history, in my opinion, is not having Archeon turn and become a good guy at the end.
I agree.
Yeah, his salvation,
he ended up being the Celestant Prime.
Sure, something like that. Like he should have. The amount of times, hey, Mitch has joined us. Special guest, Mitch. What's going on, buddy?
Guys.
Welcome, Mitch. We're just walking through the news, talking about the Black Library stuff.
So what did I miss?
Nothing.
Just new stuff. Nothing yet.
Nothing.
So we talked about the Elvish Chain gang holder guy, girl.
Yep.
Anyway, again, I know it would have. I think there would have been a section of people who didn't enjoy it, but I would have loved to see him heel turn at the end, right? And sort of become, and the nature of that struggle. Anyway, it's long gone. That's never happening. That's way in the rear view.
They missed that story beat. It
stings me still.
Yeah, they missed that opportunity. I agree. Other stuff. David Geimer is working on a 4-part audio drama featuring the return of Gotrek in AOS, and Felix obviously will not be there. That's been confirmed, but it's gonna. I guess they've locked in some special voice actor for it, and it's gonna explore kind of what's happened. And we knew that he became, Grimnir or something, but then
Right.
Grimnir exploded, because that's what the Urgold is for Fire Slayers. It is Grimnir that they're regathering because they're trying to reconstitute their god. That's the whole point of the old Urgold thing.
Yeah, I mean,
are they going to make like a statue of him with all the little pieces?
I don't know.
sure, and then like hope it comes to life. Yeah, absolutely, that's their plan.
It worked with the orcs.
I mean, Gotrek just needs to get a new partner. Like the arc of the first series, not the main thrust of the story, but the arc of the first series should end, or come to an end of an act with him finding a new companion, right? Like some new person to roll with. And it shouldn't just be replacement Felix, right? It should be like somebody actually new and interesting who plays off him in a different way.
Right.
I think Gotrek is always the most interesting when he had somebody else to play off of.
Well, it would be cool if it was I know this might be too cliche, but what about a descendant of Felix?
I mean, thousands of years and through an apocalypse, like even tracing descendancy, right?
Sure,
I mean, like it becomes tough. I don't know that like I'm not
still wearing the same poofy, multicolored arm stuff from the Empire thousands of years later. Come on.
Fair point. I don't know what record keeping they've got in Aezerheim, so that's a fair point. That being said, no, I want to see him join with, something really interesting. Somebody out of place as well, but with a different sort of look on the world could be interesting. Have him join up with like an elf would be a fun turn,
and that's
an elf in the current world.
Do something like dark elfy or something just off the wall.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but it would even be interesting to have him join with like some kind of lone Stormcast, right? Like somebody who isn't the traditional Stormcast, like somebody you mentioned from the like Vanguard sort of group, right? Like a hunter, a lone person, like a knave or somebody like that.
Yep.
Could be another interesting turn. There's probably lots of great ways you can go with it. I just want to see. I think that series would evolve because through the mouths of those two, you can learn a lot about the world.
Yeah.
Like that was. They were really great mouthpieces for the old world in the way that they would just talk about the world in general and their place in it. They instructed us a lot about the tone and nature of the world. I think you could do the same here.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So there you go.
And that's the Weekender. More also things that happened this week. We know the holiday bundles are coming. We're going to talk about a little bit about this coming up. The holiday bundles, I mentioned it, they largely reflect what we've seen with the armies that have been released this year. 3 of the 4 bundles are, in fact, armies that are new, functionally new armies. Mostly new models that are in all of those. Actually, all new models, now that I think about it, that are in all of them. Because even the Tzeentch stuff is all new stuff. So yeah, that's coming. Something that didn't get a lot of play that really, it slipped by my radar, and I'm not sure how that happened. So I know it probably slipped by most other people's radars. A small set of terrain pieces got released like this last week, including what's titled the Ruined Wall.
Yep.
Which is one of the wall sections of the Dreadfort, with the 2 collapsed end caps that you could only get in the Hellfort box, the bundle. Okay, it's like a $35 small terrain piece. It's super tall, nice, thick blocking terrain. And it was just such a great small self-contained piece because previously they sold the individual wall sprue, but it didn't have those end caps.
Right.
And the addition of those end caps is just such a genius, small move that makes that an actual functional piece you can put on the table now.
Also really good for your larger base terrain pieces.
Oh, I'll bet.
Yeah, those ruined walls are great for setting, especially slightly flying monsters on chariot base size stuff.
Yeah.
They're fantastic for that. You know me, man. If it doesn't go back to a base piece, I'm not interested, but those are great for it.
Yeah.
Mitch,
I may or may not have a large Dreadhold project manifesting this Christmas.
Absolutely. Now, Mitch, I know you've got you have a love of these various terrain pieces and stuff like that. Did you ever get any of the Hellfort or anything like that? Any of those big sections?
No. I really kind of felt that if I got it, I'd have to take the dive into Chaos. And I just kind of felt it went hand in hand. I can't not have a Chaos army and have that. But being that my son is asked, and it's possible that there could be a Blades of Corn army coming, that there could be some sections of that could show up on my shelves. That's possible.
Very nice. Just as a quick aside, I played a Soulblight Death Army this last weekend against a Blades of Khorne army, and my Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon died in like a round without ever acting or using any of his healing because he rolled 3 1s on 3 armor saves. Like I had 3 armor saves on a 2-up, rolled 3 1s, and then got blood boiled for 6 wounds, and then like just immediately like
the best story.
He blood boiled me, rolled a 6, put me at 2 wounds left, and then like errantly something attacked me. Like I don't even remember what it was. Like something literally took 2 swings at me, some cheap nothing. Got 2 hits in, and I rolled 2 more 1s on 2 more armor saves and dropped dead. I was like, well, that guy did not want to live. He rolled 6 armor saves, and 5 of them were 1s. That guy hates life. Like that vampire was ready for it to end.
He's like, it's so dark.
Yeah, he just embraced it. He was like, I can't take it anymore. I'm coming to the light.
The Warhammer version of Bad Beats is some of the best stories ever.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't believe it. I was like, well, that guy is done. All right. Anyway.
Somebody pointed out in the notes that I had missed the Soul Wars book that's coming next summer, which seems to tie into the larger Nagash stuff going on.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm really hoping that's our first tip off that we have a Dark Elf Death Army coming. Like
or the Death Cast.
Yeah, or Death Cast. Yep.
Death Cast?
We'll take
Oh yeah, that's coming. That's coming.
Yeah,
like,
Death Cast
let me
coming.
be very clear. Like that is coming. We are
when Death Cast happens, we're taking full
Death
credit.
Stormcast.
Yes.
Correct. Death Cast, yeah.
This could actually get me to buy some Stormcast models.
Because
it makes sense. Nagash is pissed at them. Nagash is pissed at Sigmar for not letting him claim his souls on
and
them,
he should be.
Yep.
And so, like, he's gonna find a way. He's gonna find a way to like hack that process.
And you know who it's gonna be?
Small number.
It's gonna be the Anvils of Heldenhammer, because the Anvils are the all black ones that have mostly lost their souls and are like the ancient warriors, and they're already in black armor. So like it like we are at a short jump to death. you do some like ghost highlighting energy on eyes and some of the cracks, and you're done.
But what are we talking about in terms of rumored timetable? I mean, I've got some credit from tournament wins that are just burning a hole in my pocket, and I'm trying to hold out.
A while.
Oh, this is us shooting from the hip. Like there are no legitimate rumors under this. We're just taking credit. This is coming, and we know that.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. I guess we didn't hear it first, though.
You heard it first. I'm just saying when it happens.
Here first?
Yeah.
It's us.
You heard it here first. We have no legitimate sources that are telling us this.
But it's going to happen because you're going to will it to happen. So I will extend whatever ethereal powers I have to that effort.
Well, as I said, the dwarf airship was coming when I was building my dwarves. And indeed, guess what? They did. So then, like, Deathcast will happen. And it does the Horus Heresy thing, but it like twists it because now it's not chaos, it's corrupted them, it's death. And like, so it does something similar, but does something different. So narratively, you have that move, and it makes sense. Anyways, okay.
Anything death in 2018. Just some new book.
You're going to get a lot of death. Yep.
Good.
Yeah. So train stuff. Yeah, I talked about the one kit that's coming. There's some big packages that are out there. There's like a all AOS train table package. That's pretty affordable. It's like 150 or something, like 170 maybe. And it's like everything, including like the Dragonfight Dais, which you can't get independently anymore. The Ruins of Elysium or whatever, and Elysia, and then there's the super mega
everything bundle.
The super mega everything Dreadhold bundle, which I considered, but I decided not to go because I have multiple Dreadforts.
Do you even have any room on those shelves behind you for this?
No, I'm gonna have to like. This is the project after my Fire Slayers are done.
You're gonna have to expand onto your house with a new wing.
I'm gonna do a 6x4 table, like a true of Blightguard. I've talked about Blightguard as my Nurgle keep, and I did like a corner of it for my board, and we will get the other 5 panels of that board.
So this is your battle board for Holy Wars, right?
No, this is a table. Like this is an actual
I know
table
exactly.
to play on.
Exactly. You're gonna bring your own table.
Well, I may make it available if folks do want it at events. I know, I know people brought tables to NashCon last year and stuff like that.
I'm just envisioning you ratcheting it up your hobby score to such a degree that you can't do the 24 by 24. You're just gonna bring the 6 by 4 table.
Just bring an entire table and set it up. This is my table. Yeah. Real quick, I want to address something that was asked in the comments. Somebody asked about Skaven rumors upcoming, and the answer is there's been a few floating around of like something happening with Skaven, but there's the opposite of anything concrete. So I would guess we'll see something minimal Skaven related in 2018, but we have nothing concrete right now. So that's the short answer to the question. Is that somebody has said yes, they want to do something with Skaven, but we don't know beyond that.
Yep. Okay, we need to burn through the news.
I mean,
stuff.
Sure.
Warhammer Heroes. Yeah, let's talk about that one. So this happened. GW announced like their order form for folks to nominate people that are heroes of the community, heroes of the hobby, local heroes. There's a lot of emphasis on the advertisement that they were local heroes. And I think that they're really serious about this. I think that they're interested in having people nominated that are folks that are contributing. This is not a popularity contest. It's not about how many nominations that any one person receives. That's not how they're voting. They're deciding based on quality of nominations and the quality of the content of what those nominations are. Mm-hmm. And so we'll have the link to that if people want to go nominate, local people that they want to lift up. I have a friend who's semi-local that I'm going to be lifting up. Vince.
Ridiculous.
I mean, yeah. Go ahead. I would say you can, but the point being that people that have enhanced the hobby for you, and maybe you are in this hobby because of their contribution. Those types of people are who you want to lift up. Your TOs, your folks like that have went the extra effort to make the game something that is your home.
Yeah. And the reality is everybody knows somebody like this, somebody who puts in their time and their effort into making the hobby better. There's a lot of people who contribute so much free time to developing local communities, to building it out, to whenever it comes to like making tables for people to play on and stuff like that. That amount of free time, that's the people that I think should be nominated for this, because this is a community game, right? And we all have, friends and know people who are community leaders who do a great job of making it so the rest of us can play and honestly somewhat free ride sometimes, right? I mean, that's what happens. I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like some give more than others because of any of 100 reasons. And so I think this is an awesome program. To just directly face what you were saying. And some other people, there was like discussion on Twitter of people nominating me. I don't think I deserve that at all. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. Okay. If you want to nominate me, thank you. That's very nice of you. And that's beyond deeply appreciated, but no, I'm serious.
You're being so overly humble here. Come on,
dude. It's gross.
I'm gonna throw the gauntlet right down now. If you don't nominate Vince, if you don't nominate Tom,
whoa, wait a minute.
Frankly, sure. Frankly, I would love to get the nomination myself, but I doubt I would qualify compared to all the other people in the field. But come on, Vince. Of course you're in the running. You'd have to be.
As I mentioned at the top of the show, let me just point out there's a far gap between the contribution to the community that Vince has made and I have made. So if you're going to nominate someone, please nominate Vince. All right. Okay, we're moving on.
There's even Johnny, even the Tonight Show had a host, a co-host.
Yeah, sure. Yes, my Ed McMahon. Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
Adepticon. I almost said Vince McMahon.
That would have been a different show.
That would have been a much
different show. Adepticon signups are available. I think they have 156 signed up for.
It's higher now.
Is it higher now? Awesome.
Yeah.
With the goal last year was 200. That's what we wanted to see this year. I don't know that we have the space for 200. I think signups will max out like 170 something. But yeah,
that hole could handle it. I mean, there were a lot of empty tables. Matter of fact, there was other events that were happening.
They would have to push the Malifaux people out.
Sorry.
Well, I feel bad for Alex if we get up to like your 170 or 200 because somebody has to paint all those terrain and tables. There's another person you can nominate, by the way, Alex. Alex would be a great person.
Yes,
that I will second 100%.
Yes.
I mean, come
Alex
on,
Gonzalez,
Adepticon. We just throw out these friggin' videos either every week or every few weeks. He's putting out one of the biggest events in the world,
and he's co-hosting a podcast.
Yeah,
yeah. I just want to jump in there too.
Sure.
Yeah, no, and Alex is a great guy. As I said, Vince and I, we played him in our final game at Holy Havoc, and they were our vote for best sportsman because of the beating that they took at the top of one, and still kept a huge smile on their face, and ended up
came
pulling
back
out
to
the
win.
Yeah, and pull out the win because of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So again, Alex would be a great person to do this. Folks like Steve Herner or any of those that are putting on events.
Yeah, those guys,
they're
both of them.
They're putting on time and money and just pouring themselves into stuff like that. All those would be a good thing. Anyways, Adepticon, their signups. I think a lot of the painting classes went quick. Vince, do you have any painting classes left available?
There might be like 1 or 2 spots in a couple of them. So, if you want to get in, I will say if you want to get in, not just mine, but any, and you're going to Adepticon, please sign up immediately because those will be gone like in the next week. By the time you get real close, there's not going to be much left at all. So
right.
I would highly recommend. I think the last time I looked, one of the classes I was teaching had like 2 spots left and one had 1 spot left. But I mean, that was a couple of days ago, so I don't know. But the point is that like if there's a lot of good classes being taught, and it is well worth your time if you're going to be there to find one that works around your tournament schedule and get into it. So you will never. There is no other U.S. event that's going to attract the sheer number of people and talent that show up at this event. So
true. And then our final news piece for the afternoon is CanCon. AOS tourney in Australia, January 27th and 28th. It's coming. Obviously, like the LVO is coming up, and we have like the first flight. But we've given that kind of stuff airtime before. We haven't talked about CanCon. Signups are coming. Vince, you want to talk about CanCon at all?
Sure. So CanCon is Australia's biggest tournament. It happens in their capital, which isn't actually the place that most people who don't live in Australia think it is. Because
Sure.
I think everybody who doesn't live in Australia thinks it's Sydney, but it's not.
They're pretty sure it is.
Sure. I mean, it's where that opera house is that monsters keep attacking. That's all I know. I'm not sure if they have anything else. Yes. So CanCon, it'll be a big tournament. It'll be a 2-day tournament. Australia's tournament scene is such they don't often do full 2-day GTs like we would think of. But this will be a full 2-day, full-on GT, probably more than 100 people. It's going to be an awesome event. You mentioned the dates in January there. I'll throw the link down in the description. If you're in Australia anywhere and you can make it, I know Doom and Darkness and his crew are going. I'm sure it's going to be an awesomely spectacular event and well worth your time if there's any way you can make it out there. So check it out.
That's the news.
There you go. That's the news. All right. So I think it's time to turn to some pick of the week. So Mitch, buddy, since you came on last minute, I can give you a minute to think of this as you want.
You're gonna have to make me last.
Sure, that's fine. We'll give you an extra minute to think of something. I'm going to continue the story of what I just talked about with CanCon for my pick of the week. I'll kick us off because I want to point everybody toward Doom and Darkness just did like a little 3-part upload from basically that he.
That's what I would have picked.
Gotcha. Well, I have another thing for you, like that if you want. I have a second one if you want. I can cover you, Mitch. But
sure.
So Doom and Darkness did a 3-part upload from Mountain Bush where he works. So he's like a survey engineer or something, and he works way out in bush, like in places that most of us in what I would think of as the civilized world would never even think to be, where he's like, this is a nice road, and he's driving on this like dirt road, and the truck's just like this. Several of them are like dashboard footage, like Paul and Ant have been doing lately, except it's driving through like Mad Max territory. The reason I recommend it is because first of all, it's just fun to listen to Doom sort of rant, But on a deeper level, you can see his thought process evolve over what he's going to be able to take to CanCon over the 3 videos, because I think he recorded it over the scope of like probably more than a week and then was able to upload them when he got home. But it's just fascinating to watch him be like, this is definitely what I'm doing. And then like the next video, he'll be like, I'm not doing that anymore. This is what I'm doing now. And just kind of go through all that. The other interesting thing about it is it's a great insight into like the Australian outback and the bush and like what it's like to a point. Because he's just driving along and he's like, oh, kangaroo. And he stops suddenly because a kangaroo just like jumps in front of the car, this big kangaroo, and then jumps away. It's so stereotypical. It's hilarious. And he's like, oh, that's a giant snake. Like a big giant snake kind of, comes in, gets in his way, and he kind of goes around it. And I'm just like, there's like a sheep. This is all real. There's a sheep corpse, like a dead sheep, just in the road. And he's like, oh, dead sheep, got to drive around that, throw that up in the corpse cart. And it's just like, this is all normal. None of this is weird. Just like I would treat a deer in, running across the road or something.
Did you notice the one point where he actually was kind of stunned that he saw another car?
Yes, exactly. Another
Australia is gigantic. It's a continent. Sure. And the area that he's in stretches for many miles. If you didn't have water, food, some kind of ability to contact, maybe with a satellite radio and a car, you'd probably die where he's driving through.
People die in bush who go out there unprepared.
Absolutely, yeah. You are in serious country that you need to know how to survive. You can't get out if your car breaks down and you can't communicate. You're going to be there for a while. You're not just going to run across somebody. So I remember one point he was like, "Wait a minute, that's another car. That's kind of unusual." He was legitimately surprised to see another vehicle, another human being where he was.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little bit alarmed.
Not at his camp, by the way, at that site. So, but anyway, it's a wonderful insight into the bush of Australia, but also it's just fun to watch him evolve his thought process.
And what did he call what did he call the dust devil? Was it Whirly?
Oh, he did have a great name for dust devils. Yeah,
because it kind of attacked his camp.
Yeah, the whirly something, yes, which I thought was great. I want that to be real. I don't know if he was just making that up, but I want that to be what everybody in Australia calls dust devils. I hope that's real.
The best names ever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. That's my pick. It's great. I'll link it down below. I'll link part 1 and you can watch through part 1, 2, and 3. Tommy, what do you got?
As many of you know, friend of the show, Paul Kunert, is in the process of starting AOS. And he's done a handful of like, hey, I'm getting started AOS. Let's look at scenarios and kind of like working through them. Mm-hmm. And I love watching Paul process new information. Like it's always enjoyable as he's kind of walking and talking through stuff like that. And so I want to give a shout.
What I'll say is it's really insightful stuff too. Like if you if you want to think about how to play the book scenarios, he really breaks it down well. Talks about like the types of units that will do well, setups, how you need to think about it over the course of the turns. It's really, really good tactical stuff. Like Paul's a smart player. He always was. And so he really breaks it down. I think in a way that a lot of people don't. I think a lot of us don't approach those scenarios with such a level of critical thinking about the exact moves. And again, he doesn't make it like, he approaches it in what I would call the right way, which is sort of a loose tactical application, right? He doesn't say like your army needs to move this unit here at this time or something like that. Like round 1, my liberators go here. Like that's not what he means, because that kind of planning would never survive contact with the enemy, right? He talks about more the general moves and thoughts you want to make as the thing evolves, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I do have a pick. Now that I had a minute to think about it. By the way, I'm very glad, just to mention, as far as Paul, very glad that he's back, because he was gone for quite a while. He tried to kind of stick in after AOS came about and a lot of his local community dissolved, and now he's returning. He has great insights on painting. Really good to see him adding some additional content, being back on the scene. I'm really happy about that.
Absolutely.
So my pick is not Warhammer, but it's a shout out to some local friends that I have that work at Dwarven Forge. My buddy Nate and his crew, they built out the terrain for Matt Mercer's Force Grey broadcast in Brooklyn. And because one of the Dwarven Forge's headquarters is in Brooklyn, and they did a phenomenal job. The lighting wasn't that great, a couple of sound problems, but that's how things go in production. But the terrain was incredible, and some of it was actually interactive, with some kind of like moving gears that moved entire rooms around. So I don't want to give anything else away, but it was pretty cool, and they did such a great job putting that stuff out there. I think that would be a good pick of the week.
Vince's favorite company.
Oh yeah,
favorite product on the market. It's less the company, more the market, the actual product. And yeah.
All right, let's talk about some hobby time, so we can move this along, because I know Tom doesn't have long today. Like we do have to move this along, and I want to cover everything for the year. So hobby time. Mitch, what have you been working on, man? I haven't seen anything from you lately as to what's on your table.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going through some life changes. There's some different things going on in my life right now that have prevented me from kind of doing hobby time. I've got some stuff that has been on the shelf that I haven't hit. I'm moving, so I'm moving to a different not, locally, but I'm moving to a different house, and so you'll see me pick that up once I because I'm still in the packing mode, and I'm going to be moving in a week from Friday. So yeah, I'll help shorten your video, and we can move on. But nothing for me for a bit. As soon as, and just for anybody who watches my channel, I'm sorry for the lack of content in the last several weeks, especially. But there's more stuff going on. I'm lining stuff up for some unlockings and other things as well. So just look out for it, and I'll be back once I get settled.
All right, look forward to that. Tommy, what about you, buddy?
Party boat.
Yeah, the party boat. Party boat.
Yeah, making progress. This one's going a lot faster than the frigate. I was quite surprised. And I may have to paint myself up a gun hauler for Adepticon. I may have cracked the case on that list. So we'll see. Super stoked. Cool. I may have found a way to make something useless functional.
Well, we're all excited about that. Yes, and what he's talking about is the gun hauler, by the way. He's excited because he wants to make the bad ship useful, and I agree with him. My hobby time, I've been working on. I'm with Holy Havoc in the rear view. I actually get to work on some competition pieces. It's been great. Oh my god, it's been so cathartic to sit down and not have to paint units, and to paint like one figure and to just spend hours blending. Although that girl, you can't see her, but she's up there. She took so freaking long because I was traveling for like 16 out of 18 days. At the beginning of this month, I was on the road, right? So she took that whole time, even though I got to work on her very little. But she's done now. And now I'm working on this girl right here, which I am very excited about. So this is from Dallas, who is one of Kieran Dunleavy's buddies. Dallas with the, I'm going to get the initials wrong, but it's like AMPCA or something. It's the Canadian people, and they had it commissioned through a sculptor a producer in France. And it's this cowgirl fig, and I am in love with it. It's gorgeous. And I've been getting to play around with like the leather chaps and denim, doing denim, a thing you don't normally get to paint on a lot of our models. Not a lot of dudes in Age of Sigmar are wearing jeans. So, it's been very fun. And I love this scale. She's in 75 millimeter. Which is just such a wonderful scale to work in because you get like just so much more detail. So she's been coming along, and it's been outrageously fun. I love working in that scale. So there you go. That's what's on my table. I have a marathon game of D&D coming up this weekend in celebration of Thanksgiving, and so I'm trying to find a model to bring with me to sit at the table that I can just errantly paint that isn't for anything. So that's been my other mission, because I can't bring something nice and just sit there and paint it. It has to be something that I don't care about that much.
Is it just for Thanksgiving, or is it also for your birthday?
No, dun dun dun.
Yes, it is my birthday tomorrow. Yes, that is correct.
Happy birthday, Vince.
Thank you very much, Mitch. It's appreciated. But speaking of,
you know what, all of you can get Vince for his birthday?
A vote?
A nomination.
Not nominating me. That's what you give me. Not nominating me. Okay. All right. Let's talk about what we have to give thanks for. Let's go through the year in review.
Yep.
Okay, we got about 25 minutes. Let's do the year in review. Here we go. Whole year, 25 minutes.
Oh, no.
Let's do this.
So the first of the year, what we launched off with was Tzeentch. This was the year of change.
Sure. Boy, is that true. So yeah, we started off with Tzeentch. I mean,
okay, well, let me ask this. Initial impressions. Mitch, do you feel like we had a lot of AOS releases this year?
Yeah, smidge.
I mean, like...
Yeah, yes.
I've heard a lot of people complain because we had only 3 armies this year.
Oh, look, there were only 3 armies, fine, but there were a lot of releases. And I think the evolution of AOS was pretty good this year, too. We have to also realize that there has been, and I don't want to steal the thunder here, but there's been a lot of things that have helped push the ball forward as far as the evolution of AOS, things like the GHB 17. I think we have to be thankful for the fact that, and this will be my contribution to the giving thanks, for the fact that GW is putting a lot of emphasis on AOS. And we've had that at the same time that a lot of new box games have come out, that a new 40K was released. These are important things to keep in perspective. We've had a good year for AOS. I'm sure next year is going to be even bigger, but let's realize that the product is supported and it's not waning. You can't expect something to happen every week or even every month for that matter, but we've had a pretty good track record, I think, this year.
Yeah, I mean, it should be noted that I spent the first 17 years or so of my playing Warhammer, given that there would be 2 or 3 releases in a year, like book releases in a year ever, right? Yeah. And not forget these boxed games and these other mini releases and rules updates and stuff like that. No. You got like 2 or 3 new codexes or whatever you want to call them, army books in a year, and maybe those had some new kits with them, maybe. So sure, certainly we've come a long way from that. I think my level of impression, Tom, is this. This year was instructive of how much you can do without producing miniatures.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. And we'll talk about that as we kind of move through. That is kind of the big standout, because my initial impression, if you were to ask me, would be like, yeah, we didn't have a lot this year. Like, it felt like we had a really busy beginning. And then it feels like we've just had a lot of like really lackluster kind of, stuff. We haven't had a lot or hadn't had much over the last like 9 months. But the reality is that that's just simply not true. And that's, when we walk through this, I think that'll become apparent.
Yeah, I think it's a story very quickly. Obviously, the molds are all cranking 40K stuff out. So they had to look and say, what else can we do?
Yeah. Yep. And it's obvious. Like I said, we had Tzeentch at the beginning of the year. Very quickly after that, Tzeentch was a huge hit and has reshaped the meta. Let me just point that out.
Yes,
in the beginning,
Tzeentch, I think, is one of the big successes of the year because it has been impactful in the meta. People love it. Lots of people went out. Great new models. Lord of Change, highly successful.
Like, I don't even have a Tzeentch army, and today I was trying to figure out how to build a Zangor army.
Yeah,
that was the video. The video we did together, Tom, was how Tzeentch is going to change Warhammer, Age of Sigmar. Yep. That was the name of that video we did when it first was released.
Yep.
Yeah, and it did. I agree. I think it is the most impactful release of the year. Like, more than Khorne, more than KO, I think it was the most impactful release of the year, short of probably like the GHB 17, which we can have an argument about.
Yeah, KO had more of an impact on Tom, but
sure. Like, the GHB 17, the true reset of the yearly rule release is the only thing that comes close to
But Tzeentch. No, I would say that, like, let me be very clear, though. Like, Tzeentch had arguably even a bigger impact on me than KO. Because any list that I built, I had to deal with Tzeentch, whether it was Skyfires in the first part of the year or Change Hosts in the second part of this year. So whatever I'm building, no matter what army I'm working on, whether it was my Nurgle army, which was built to beat Tzeentch, and I beat Tzeentch in every game that I played at NashCon. Like, most of my games are against Tzeentch, and every game that I played against Tzeentch, I beat with that list. But that was because I built against it because it was such a weighty presence in the meta.
That's the same thing with me with AdeptCon earlier this year. It was I mean, I had a limitation in terms of what I had painted or what I could get painted, but a wonky list that I brought, which was clearly not a top tier list, was built specifically to try to minimize the gap that Tzeentch had left with what I felt was death and what I could bring to the table and what I was going to be facing. And ironically, I faced them 3 times and had a pretty good record with them. But a lot of that's just happenstance or rolls or whatever. But if you don't take that into consideration, Tzeentch. I think that's the first thing that everybody's looking at right now. I think the next thing is probably Fire Slayers, but Tzeentch, and I'm getting ahead, I'm sure. But yeah, I agree. Huge impact on the game.
So the Vanguard stuff for Stormcast dropped. And I mean,
cool models.
Long Strike Raptors were kind of a big deal.
I mean, sort of, kind of.
Yeah,
I mean, let's face it; these guys haven't taken off because they're not in the core competency of Stormcast, right? Like their rules are good, but not amazing. I think they're fun. I think like the Paladors are cool. I think that wind shoot across the board thing. Their zippy floaty thing I think is good. I think the Aqualor's ability to pull and re-enter the board consistently is really interesting. I think the hunters or the hand crossbow people are decent. But that's just it. Like there wasn't anything in there that was just like, yep, now this is how things are played, right? Because all of it is very different than a lot of what normal Stormcast was capable of. And the reality is the normal Stormcast especially with their new book, just got a lot of really good movement tools on their own without needing to have specialized troops to do it. They have lightning chariot and crap, so they don't like. Okay.
Yeah. No, agreed. So yeah, it dropped, but I still haven't seen any competitive armies come out of that. The same month, we also had Warhammer Quest, the Hammer Hall that dropped like mid-February. It was kind of a surprise release, caught us unaware. It's funny that we had Rob of Warhammer TV at the time on the show at like the end of January, and we just heard about this, and he's like, "Do you have any questions about it?" And we're like, "No, not really." He's like, "Okay," and we moved on. And like it was like 3 weeks away, or like it was literally like you could throw a stone at that release, and no one knew how close that actually was. Yeah, it was quite humorous.
Yeah, and I think the problem with it, as far as like its impact, because I kind of forgot about it when we were putting this list together.
Yeah.
The issue with it for me was it didn't have the new models like Silver Tower had, right? Like Silver Tower had some new models in it, which were cool. Those main heroes were great. That Dark Oath Chieftain was amazing. The Skaven Death Runner, was fantastic. Like there's just good stuff in there. We didn't see that here.
No, you're right. And the storytelling was different as well. It wasn't an automated game, but you needed to have like a GM for it, and so that changes dynamics like on who is going to be able to play and whatnot. But it had full kits on the alternative. So it had full kits of the Arcanites, full kits of Reavers, full kits of Future Blight Kings, which was a departure from Silver Tower.
Right.
So then after that, we had Blades of Corn in early April. And this was one of those out of nowhere releases. We didn't see a book coming. And surprise, it was there, and it was good. Like Blades of Corn.
I mean, Corn has been a pretty impactful one. It's amazing what you can do with a bunch of foot sloggers and 5 wound heroes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, that's the army. Yep. It's just foot slogging dudes and 5 wound heroes. And they run across the board and smash your face.
There's still some holes that need to be patched up, like some of the battalions that require like everything in the auxiliary battalion stuff rather than like, some of that, like the demon ones, which are a problem. But that's never been cleared up. But other than that, like overall, it was a nice tight book. I liked it. It was good.
Right.
I wouldn't say it had the same impact as Tzeentch, but I definitely think it's the kind of thing that you have to think about when you're playing, because of what they can do on the table, what they, the ability for them to dish out mortal wounds, the ability for them to move across the table. They definitely are a presence in the upper echelon of lists, if not an absolute A or A plus. But
you need to think about murder hosts. Whatever you play, you have to think about how you're going to deal with murder hosts. What I would say is that it's interesting. It was that Blades of Corn was when we got confirmation. We knew Nurgle was coming. Like as soon as we saw that Blades of Corn book, we're like, "Well, Nurgle's coming. You heard it here first." And that was how many months ago?
9 months later, we'll get the Nurgle book. Hey, look, in the span of like geologic time, it was not even noticeable.
But we're right. We didn't have any like core actual like any hard evidence, and we called that, and we know that.
Well, that's just common sense. Yes, the chaos. Oh, hot take. The Chaos Gods are going to get supported.
Hey, you never know if Slaanesh is going to get supported.
I do. I do, in fact, know Slaanesh is going to get supported. I know that. I know it.
Sure. Okay.
She told him personally.
Hot off that Blades of Corn release, less than a month later, we had KO drop. To much fanfare and much chagrin. People, like early on, you can hear me complaining about the fact that I had to buy 10 packs of Thunder kits to build a unit. And GW fixed that a couple months later.
I mean,
but
you didn't have to ever, but sure, whatever. Okay.
Yeah. No. Tom had to.
Oh, I had to. Like,
yeah.
So this is where we're going. So KO came out, and obviously, as most of you know, like that became my army for the year. And that's what that and like a joint KO / Fire Slayer build. Shortly after that release, I think within that month, we got a Fire Slayer book, the new getting started box for Fire Slayer. That was right after that, right?
The Fire Slayer getting started box?
Yeah,
it was a little bit later, but yeah, it was like the getting started Fire Slayer box was May or early June, if memory serves.
Yeah. It was within about a month or so. But the new Fire Slayer box came, which was a great prepping of things to come. And then shortly after that, then we got into a bunch of small kind of surprise releases. We had the Skirmish book and the Skirmish boxes that came with that, with a bunch of like unit stuff. I mean, I have a couple Daughters of Cain boxes just sitting right off my shoulder here, which were a great like set of small mini bundles at different price points, which was interesting. We had the Skirmish books, the Skirmish boxes. We had the open war cards that dropped then. Scroll Builder got sanctioned and released. All of those came in pretty rapid succession. The Korgus Cole and Vandus, like one-off release where they got their own war scrolls and they got their own deal, dropped around that time. Also, sometime around there, we got the Path to Glory and the Skulls and Vine packs. Again, a bunch of these are small releases, kind of here or there. We're halfway through the year and we're already up to like 13 releases. And this, by the way, like right when this is happening is when 40K then releases 8th edition.
Yeah, sure. Well, and like I said, it's a good example of how much stuff they can do. And like I talked to Pete about this summit at Nova, of like sometimes because of the nature of like there are only so many molds, they can only produce so much stuff. Like it's just that's reality, right? You can't. This is called just the way the world is, okay? But they still want to be able to do stuff for all their games. And so that's where Pete looks at how he can develop books like Skirmish, like Path to Glory, probably like, as we'll talk about in a little while, Firestorm, where it's not necessarily needing the molds to rip into action to do this, but they can utilize the existing tools they've got, write new books to support new ways to play, and still, provide interesting ways to engage with the hobby, new stuff to pick up, things like that, right? So I'm all about that. Like, I look at that Path to Glory thing. I very, 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 I think Skirmish for the most part didn't really hit. I think Path to Glory is pretty popular by the standards of, what those books ever are going to be.
Yep.
Because I still to this day see a lot of people, like you'll see on Twitter, people sharing like, or on Facebook, right, in the painting groups, like, this is my Path to Glory warband, right? What people like about it is it seems to be like right about the perfect size of something they can get into and paint and hit that like metric of achievement.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. No, I would agree with that. No, it's good.
So to me, the big win out of all that was the Path to Glory book, I think. I really do.
I really like the Skirmish boxes. I like the multiple price points, and I know a lot of people picked up a lot of those boxes.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I didn't pick up any of them, but I love that they're around. And I'll say every time I'm in the store, I stare at that the Warherds one or whatever, the Allies box that's like a 3 Minotaurs and a Gorgon. I'm like,
yeah. I picked up an Iron Jaws one, and I picked up 2 of the Daughters of Cain one. So I mean, they were just great boxes. They were great bundles for what they were, price point.
Mitch, did you have a favorite out of all of that?
Of the well, I came very close to picking up Daughters of Cain myself, just because of the rule question. I kind of got a little gun shot
off of it.
Yeah, very much shied off. But I came really close. I was picking Tom's brain for a while about that, and because again, I have a lot of this tournament credit that I've been really just chomping to kind of spend. I know it doesn't expire, but it's anybody who knows, if you have a little bit of credit or even a little bit of extra money in your pocket, you want to spend it. So yeah, that was the one I probably liked the most, just because I played Dark Elves way back. It was one of the armies, I think the 3 first armies that I had gotten. It was Undead, Bretonnians, and Dark Elves.
Yep.
I wanted to get back into Dark Elves. When I saw that box, that was something that almost pulled me in. But yeah, I loved it. Great value.
So I mean, now we got to talk about GHB 2017, right?
Yeah, because like we took like a 2 month, a month and a half break, kind of transition as 40K took over, and that's to be expected. And then GHB 2017 drops in August, and it reshapes the meta. Like that's not an understatement. And what I mean by that is like the entire way that you built and concepted forces changed for almost every single army because of the battalion changes.
And allies and everything. The addition of allies, the increase of battalion costs, the addition of new, the addition of all the new allegiance rules, right? Like at every level.
Yep. I think it had an impact on obviously list building, but I think it had an impact also on what you purchased, and why. Like you just said it, the allies. I think if I had to pinpoint to one thing, obviously of new allegiance abilities for all the, for the various different armies that didn't get a book, but when I look at what might impact what I'm going to buy, the introduction of allies opens up just a huge spectrum of what every list can do, where prior maybe you just bought destruction, maybe you just had an aspect of destruction, or any of the other Grand Alliances. If you were just doing Death Rattle, or if you were, or even if you did the Grand Alliance itself, why you bought that stuff may have just been built on the concept of what you can do with that list. But once you open up allegiances, and then you add the allies in that allow you not to break the allegiance, that one item that you might want to buy that you didn't really buy because maybe in a cornerstone of a different theme, but it could be a real nice complement of what you were building in your list, is now something that's on your calendar, it's on your wish list, it's on your holiday list, and you're going to buy it. You're going to be more likely to buy that 1 or 2 things, a unit of this, or maybe 3 boxes or 4 boxes to make that 40 strong. That's something that's really important. And those get started boxes sometimes are what you need. Like for instance, the Fire Slayer box it's a huge bonus. Getting a bunch of skeletons and a White King is like 400 points. Getting one of the Mortarks is can be close to 400 points. Those are really big, important things that I think a lot of people are may not have gone to complement whatever their list was. Now they're looking at it. So I think that it doesn't just change the list build. It's going to change what you're going to paint and what you're going to spend money on. Yeah,
I know for me, like I made the gamble and went with my KO Fire Slayer joint force before I knew they were allies. They didn't even know that was going to be possible. So it's ironic that I'm like, I had a huge win there, despite some of my frustrations with Thunderers, and with KO and some of the changes that they made there. The reality is that like it ended up working out for me because I was already going down this Fire Slayer route, and so it gave me a nice, already robust kind of build option between the two of them.
Yep.
So.
I mean, I'll say this. Thing I am most thankful for this year is GHB 2017. The amount of fun it's given me. I've played so many new allegiances out of there, and it's given life to so many forces that I wasn't regularly using, right? Yes, there's some stuff with compendiums, although I have gotten out my Tomb Kings and actually played them as generic death since the change. And by the way, it was as fun as I imagined to run Cetra as a generic Tomb King and give him magic items and stuff. It was super awesome. That's neither here nor there. I'm just saying you can still have a lot of fun in casual-ish games with your TK. Just point it out. Give it a shot. All right. It's fun.
All right. The compendium thing aside, because that's certainly...
I don't want to talk about it.
I get it.
I wanted to stay positive.
All right.
Totally fine. But the rest of GHB, like I've played Host of Slanesh, I've played Soul Blight, I got my Iron Jaws out of there, I've put Wanderers on the table, I put Brayherds on the table. Like it just reinvigorated my love for so many different armies and gave me so many interesting ways to play them. So
no, absolutely. No, that's all good. The reason why we're speeding up is that we have to go in like 5 minutes. So we're going to wrap this up. Blight War soon dropped after that. With Blight War, a couple weeks later, we had Firestorm and the Firestorm bundles. Remember, we got a bunch of army bundles?
Mm-hmm.
Some of those joint allied forces.
Nice. Those are really nice values too, I think.
Yeah, really nice value. And then immediately after that, or soon after that, a couple weeks, we have Shadespire. And then most recently, this paint handle that we got that was so epic and glorious.
I'm excited about it. Everybody's using it. Wonderful. If this is what it took to get everybody to stop holding their dumb mini. By the way, Warhammer TV, like Duncan and all the painters did like a paint in chat, did like a paint-a-thon, right? And they were all sitting there holding their minis. I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, you've got those products have to be everywhere. Why do you not have those in your hands? It blew my mind.
They need to release a 2.0 version of that, the painting handle, because it has this like metal piece on the side. It looks like it should be magnetic, where you can put them together, but you can't. So concept for, of course, GW is watching this. They really need to do that so you can kind of roll them up together or somehow find a way to interlink them, because we all know that when you're doing a unit of troops, you're bundle painting.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
So yeah, and then we have like the terrain stuff that just released, and the new bundles, and then the Christmas bundles that are coming out this next week, and we have like 20+ releases this year.
Yep.
So like, shut your mouth.
Only 3 armies. That's the trick.
Yeah, only 3 armies, and some of them were like discounted repack bundles. Some were new starting kitting and started boxes. Some were the Allies boxes. But we've had a lot of products drop. And when I say 20+, I'm saying product releases. So I'm counting all of the Battle Force boxes as one release. Yeah. All the skirmish stuff, all the yada yada yada.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I look at it, my thought is I understand, because this was really the year of the 4.
Oh, wait, hold on, stop. We collapsed 2 things.
Okay.
We collapsed Allies boxes with skirmish boxes.
Yeah, there was both.
There were both. Right. Let me be very clear about that. For some reason, I collapsed those. So those are an additional set of releases that spun out as 2 different things.
Yeah, I thought you said both. I'm sorry. But whatever. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So DACA's saying they had paint holders, all of them. I didn't see them. In the little bit that I watched, it was people holding minis, DACA. So maybe I watched the wrong part. But there you go. So hopefully I want to see those paint handles in every video going forward, ever. Sure. Every tip of the day better have them using those paint handles. Period.
So do they have the Vince like endorsement that they are worth the money?
Like, first of all, they're $8. I don't care. No, I mean, I just use like this or whatever. Like, I don't care what you use. Stop holding your minis while you're painting. It causes, seriously, like, I mean, unless you're trying to get carpal tunnel, I guess. But like, there's no reason to paint something in an uncomfortable position. Just use anything. Use anything. Just put your mini on something where your hand can rest in a comfortable, non-stress position. You will paint better. You will paint faster. You will paint longer. It will be less uncomfortable. You will enjoy the process more. What is the pushback to this? It makes no sense. Anyway,
you don't have to spend a lot of money. Go buy a bag of wine bottle corks.
That's what I do.
Sure. There's 100 solutions which cost near $0.
Yep.
Or you use water bottle tops.
Yep.
Yeah, I just put these on sometimes and just sit them down. People come over and they wonder, why do you have all those?
Yeah. I mean, obviously Shadespire, we shouldn't blow by that, right? Shadespire is obviously huge. Like, you've seen the events building. Whatever each of our personal thoughts are on Shadespire, and I'll openly admit it's not like, it's not probably right in my wheelhouse. It's big. Like, the events are rolling in, people are signing up massively. Relian's running a big one at Wapaka, right? Is that right? Wapaka?
Yep.
Yeah, he's running the first, like, whatever the Grand Spire or whatever the name of it is here in the US in January. There'll be a big one at LVO. There'll be a big one at Adepticon. And like, people have signed up en masse for these because you looked at the first big event around at Blood and Glory. People love it, man. And I'm excited for it. It's a quick, easy entry point into this hobby, and it's a fast, fun game. Yes. Great. Good. It's about time we hit it. I feel like we finally solved this little, puzzle. And if it's not for you, that's okay. Like I said, I'm not super thrilled about it. Like, I don't enjoy playing it a huge amount.
The minis are still amazing.
Yeah, they are.
Yep. All right. Do we have our closing thoughts? Let's bring it to our closing thoughts here for the year. Mitch, your thankfulness for the year and what you look back on, and what you're hopeful. Quick thing on what you're hopeful for 2018.
All right. Well, I mentioned some of the thankfulness that I had. I'm just glad that the AOS is supported and that it's continuing to be supported, and that we have so many things to look forward to. Some of the things as far as looking forward to 2018, I'm looking forward to more people doing the stuff that we do. I'm seeing new blood coming on board that are trying to kind of break in and get an audience, and I really want to see more support for them. People like the Warhammer guys. I haven't been able to get back on the show. I mean, they asked me to come in and kind of evaluate lists, and I just have been really busy in my life. So if they're watching, just know that you reach out to me again. I will get on. Also, Grimdark Live, which is Patrick Gannon, I believe. He's the guy one of the guys I played at Adepticon. He's started a show. I'd like to see more of these guys watch these shows. They're cool. They're fun. They really have good insights and good takes on things. I want to see more people do stuff. I'm glad to see Paul Kierhart come back. I want to see more of the old guard return with more content. The community is in such a strong way compared to where it was after the dip from when 8th edition transitioned to AOS, and I really want to see it continue. I'm excited to see where it's going. Obviously, Warhammer TV. I mean, come on. We look at the strength of Warhammer TV. They're now even doing some of the things that we do, which is the list analysis. They're putting it. They have a show to do that now with experts, with the resident play testers. Seeing that Warhammer TV become such a thing with more content is a great thing. I'm looking forward to that for 2018, and I'm just thankful that we have that upward trajectory and over the course of 2017.
Makes sense. Tommy?
It was a good year, and I hope that we'll have something similar next year.
Fair enough. I agree with everything you said, and although I'm happy that they didn't leave us in the lurch and did manage to get some stuff out, I'm really thankful, like I said, for GHB, for everything, for their continued commitment to the game and to keep it fresh and reinvigorating it and responding to our desires. And I'm hoping 2018 we do get a lot more new armies. I do want to see that. Bring on the Death Elves, bring on the Light Elves, bring on the Deathcast, bring it all on. Let's see a big year. So there we go. So that brings us to the end of our Thanksgiving Spectacular. Thank you, Mitch, for stopping by. We appreciate you being our very special guest. Tom, thank you for taking time out of the middle of your day. I know we've ran right up against your time, and of course, thank you so much to everybody who's watched this year. We wouldn't be here without you. That is the most important thing. We are eternally thankful to our audience who will show up every show, who watch this. I really cannot explain how much I appreciate it, how much I appreciate the comments, the conversation. Everything is wonderful. So looking forward, it's been a wonderful year so far. Ready to close it out and looking forward to a great 2018. Thank you very much, everybody. And as always, we'll see you next Wednesday.